Aloha and welcome. Today I am joined by S.J. Scott. Aloha.
Aloha.
Very excited to have him here today, an honor to have him here. He's a best-selling author and he's produced over 60 books. He has an awesome website. What's the name of your website?
I have a couple, but I guess the two that I kind of currently work on, developgoodhabits.com and selfpublishingquestions.com.
Fantastic. So he helps authors publish books. He doesn't actually publish them himself, but he's helping people create habits, shift out of things. He has written so many books on habits and creating good habits that I'm in awe of his creativity and productivity. So we're very lucky to have him here today. And to kick things off, I'm always interested in people's stories, their hero's journey. How do we go from an idea and then bring it all the way through into reality so that it's actually happening? And these stories, as you listen to him, think about how this applies to you and think about what's really going on here behind the words, because there's always secrets in these stories. So Steve, tell us all about it.
Yeah, since you talked about the hero's journey, I might as well throw a couple of the obstacles that came along my way. But I would say pretty much everything, my whole online business adventure started in 2004, so over 11 years ago. And probably like a lot of people, I got started just by trying a bunch of different things and really nothing seemed to pan out. So I would say a good solid 2 years of almost completely wasted effort. I did have a couple websites that kind of took off, but they did well for a little bit, but then they got shut down because I was always trying to like manipulate Google. In other words, I was trying to take shortcuts, and that really didn't help me at first, but they also provide a lot of lessons. So I would say I just fumbled around for about 2 years until 2006 when I got into affiliate marketing. And through affiliate marketing, I kind of learned the importance of building an email list and connecting with a specific audience, specific niche, just the kind of lessons I learn now as a self-published author. So from 2006, pretty much I shut down the last affiliate website about a year or so ago. So from 2006 to 2014, I had a couple of major affiliate marketing websites, and I was able to, through a lot of trial and error, that was another couple of years from 2006 to 2008, build pretty much a full-time income through affiliate marketing. And as far as how I got into self-publishing, around 2012, I heard about the Kindle marketplace. I had a blog, Steve Scott's site, that kind of talked about just general internet business stuff. But I was also looking for a way to generate traffic back to my blog. So I heard about Kindle publishing, and I decided to just put a bunch of old blog posts together, put them up on Amazon, and see if that generates traffic back to my website. And I actually honestly didn't think this was a monetary. I didn't think I'd be able to make money with it, but I thought at least be able to connect into the audience on Amazon. So the first book pretty much went nowhere, and then I came out with a second book a couple months later. But what I did with that second book is I put the first book free through the KDP Select program, and as soon as that promotion ended, the book actually started selling. It was selling 5 to 7 copies a day, which was about $10 a month, or sorry, $10 a day. And what really made me realize is, why am I wasting all this effort in blogging and trying to build an audience when I could just be taking the same content, putting in kind of short little actionable books, and just build an audience almost kind of on the back of the Amazon channel. And I did that pretty well for a year or two. And then most recently, in the last year, and actually last 2 years, I've pretty much focused specifically on the habits market. And instead of really trying to build up a lot of traffic to a website, I just really tried to funnel an entire audience around just buying short habit specific books. So that's kind of my quick, dirty version of my story.
Yeah, that's great. So in other words, if you look here, because one of the things I often talk about is the good old 80-20 rule that we've all heard thousands of times. Most people don't use it, yeah? If you look at Steve's story there, 80% of his time he's kind of just messing about, having a go, trying things out, didn't really get the result. And then that 20% at the end, which he figured things out, all of a sudden starts to explode and then ends up with this like little slither, 1% on habits right at the end after all that time. And this is often what happens in our journey. And it's not obvious how to get there quicker, but we can help you a little bit. But sometimes there is a bit of that going on.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, you mentioned 80-20 rule, and that's really been, I would say, for the last number of years, pretty much a guiding principle through everything I do. I just try to find the one or two things that really move the needle and just focus on those things. And I might do a little experimentation with stuff off the side, but really most of my time is spent on the few habits or the few actions that really drive my business forward. So it's almost being specifically procrastinating under things and trying to filter out all the other stuff that doesn't work and just focus on what does work.
Yeah, exactly. I talk about it in my one of my books. The mud, the gold, and the diamond. 80% is mud, 20% is gold, 1% is the diamond. And there you go. That's and so from far as I'm concerned, we should be diamond, like obsessed diamond jewelers. We're looking for the diamond all the time.
Exactly. So, yeah, no, that's a good analogy.
So tell us a little bit about what you've learned about habits. Let's say someone wants to write a book in 21 days, or they want to, do a webinar, or they want to, whatever they want to do, one of their projects. What are the main habits you'd recommend someone needs to develop in order to really make sure they pull this off?
Sure. There's the one habit that's probably the obvious habit, but I think people underestimate the value, and that's just honestly consistency. And this is actually something I struggled with myself. So if you're an author, then the most important thing you should be doing on a daily basis is writing every single day. Now, the mistake I made in the past, and only I recently have just decided to fully commit to the process, is writing every single day. That means even weekends, holidays, vacations. Like I was actually in New Hampshire with my wife a couple weeks back, and I had to get up like 30 minutes early just so I'd make sure I got in my 30 minutes of writing every day. And I really think that's a key there. Like you definitely, obviously we all get busy. We all have stuff that just randomly pops up, but you should commit to a certain either amount of time every single day or a certain word count every day, and just make sure come hell or high water that you're doing that on a daily basis. And actually my friend Stephen Geis, who wrote the book Mini Habits, he has a really good way of forcing yourself to take action. And what he kind of recommends is you almost kind of lowball your goal. So his recommendation is to set a small goal for yourself. So write a paragraph every single day. And you'll find that once you sit down and you're actually writing a paragraph, a lot of times you'll be like, oh, this is not so bad. Let me keep on going. And what this actually solves is the problem that we all have is if you have a lot to do in a day, and you have a schedule saying, oh, I have to write 2,000 words a day, that becomes such an almost insurmountable obstacle in your mind that you're like, oh, I just don't have time to do that. I'll just do it tomorrow. But when you frame a goal that I just want to write, all I have to do for today is write a paragraph, then it's easy to kind of force yourself into that. And then once you're sitting down doing it, you'll more follow through. So that's for writers. And obviously, if you're a content creator, like you create videos, I would recommend creating a video every day or just doing something on a consistent basis. And in a way the best analogy I heard is Jerry Seinfeld. He committed to writing a joke every single day, no matter what. And it's almost following that principle. You take the one thing you have to do, and you just force yourself to do it on a daily basis. So I'll let you jump in if you have any comments or questions.
Yeah, that's such a key thing, and most people, of course, don't say anything about consistency. So yeah. And I think the main thing you mentioned there that is so key is it doesn't have to be this mammoth, huge, long-winded, like 6-hour mission. It can be one paragraph. I even tell people if you write one sentence, that's good enough. I mean, obviously, it's not going to get very far if you only wrote one sentence a day and that's all you ever did. You'd probably be 10 years before you finish your book. But just doing something that you want to do every day makes it easy. And I think that ease seems to be a really important part of creating habits.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, I should have backstepped a little bit. I would say before you even commit to that one habit, you want to make sure that that's the actual habit that produces the most results. Like for me, as a writer, it should be writing. But for instance, if you're a salesperson, then making sales calls should be the one habit that you should adopt every single day. So you just almost kind of reverse engineer what is the critical indicators of your success and just kind of focus on that one thing.
Yeah, so when we focus on consistency, then what happens to us, Steve, when you do that? What's going on a deeper level as you keep doing that over time?
It's weird. I don't really totally like fully understand what actually happens, like from a like an actual like behavior in your brain, what actually works. So I just find myself that when you actually commit to doing everything every day, the resistance diminishes. So if you know that you can actually get through a paragraph or get through, for me, like my low goal is 30 minutes every day. But that's because I've gotten used to writing and I could commit to 30 minutes every day. But you'll find that once you get through the process, you're like, oh, it's not so bad. And eventually you stop making excuses. You stop saying, oh, I just don't have time for this. You realize that it's really not as bad as you build it up to be in your mind, that it's really just like, as long as you're carving out that time, the stuff gets done. And the one thing I would add that's like honestly kind of really helped me is I try to schedule this time before doing anything else in a day. So I know that I'm not necessarily a morning person, but I know that just getting up and doing it right away, that those random things that pop up, like emergencies or just other types of projects that pop up, you know that when you do it first thing in the morning, that all that stuff doesn't tend to intrude upon that. So if you have to, honestly, I like sleep as much as the next person, but if you have to, I would recommend getting up a little bit early, beginning of every single day, and just working on that thing right away. So if you're a writer, get up and work on your writing. So if you're a salesperson, first thing in the morning, start making your sales calls. That's sort of kind of mentality where you try to avoid as many kind of mental obstacles that you put in front of yourself as possible.
Yeah, and it's funny even having this conversation, really, because if you're a writer and you want to write a book, then what else should you be doing at all?
Yeah.
Writing, really? Do you know what I mean? The fact that people don't do the thing that what they want to do is in itself kind of quite alarming, that we have that in us. And I still find this in myself to some degree. I mean, it's a lot less than it used to be, but I find it's incredible how many things somehow make their way into our list of priorities other than the important thing. So what do you think is going on there, Steve? Why is it that despite us knowing a lot of the time what we need to do, we get bombarded with sleep all the time? What is going on?
Because there are a lot of well-organized and programmed websites that kind of teach us to want to distract ourselves, because honestly, writing or doing something that is important, a lot of times it's hard. It's not easy. It's I don't care what other people say. Writing is not the easiest thing to do in the world. And checking Facebook, sometimes it's almost like the kind of operant conditioning, where it's like, or variable conditioning. So sometimes you'll get that quick fix of checking out an email, be something really cool and fun to read over email, or same thing with Facebook or on your phone. There's so many things out there. And actually there's that book called Hooked. I forget the author's name. It's Near something. I can get you the link after this conversation, but it basically teaches you how all these websites and all these products out there are designed to hook people to constantly come back for just basically for more, almost like a mouse with a pellet, just keep on tapping away and getting that reward. And I just think a lot of this stuff it's easy to lose yourself in distractions where sometimes you should be doing the work, but you're like, you keep on telling yourself, oh, just 5 more minutes on Facebook, and next thing you know, 5 minutes turns into 30 minutes. I guess the one thing I would add to that is you really have to be very mindful about how you're spending your time. And what works for me is Rescue Time. I actually have this little app running on the background, and it sends you a weekly report about where you're spending your time online. And it's scary what it shows you. Sometimes it shows you, oh, you spent 15 hours this week on Facebook. And you're like, wow, that's not good use of my time. So you definitely want to be really conscious about where you're allocating your energy.
Yeah, I have Rescue Time. I've had it for 2 years, and it is in my bar on my computer, and it keeps popping up this screen all the time. But you know what? I never look at it at all. So despite having paid for this thing for all these years, I don't use it. So I have to sort of make a public confession that I probably should start using it, and it is definitely a good thing. It is shocking when I look at that. I'm like, oh my god, why do I spend so long in Gmail? What am I doing in it?
Oh yeah, well, email is definitely a productivity killer.
Email is just like so. In other words, just to rephrase what you said there are evil geniuses around who are actually making us physically, mentally, emotionally addicted to their nonsense, to the point that we don't do what we need to do because we're so kind of hooked into this thing.
Yeah, and I would say for everyone watching and listening that we all go through this, so it's not like Michael and I are not like achieve some higher state where we're able to ignore. And I suffer from this just like the next person. Sometimes I'll find myself wasting 30 minutes on Facebook or reading emails when I'm not supposed to be. So it is a constant iterative process, and it just, if you could spend 1 hour less per week on email and social media, then that's 1 more hour you could use to focus on whatever you need to really work on. So I would say focus on getting those small wins. Focus on maybe getting 30 minutes back or 1 hour back every week, and just try to improve from there.
Yeah. I just, while we're here talking about this, just a couple apps that I found actually work quite well. There's one is called Focus, ironically. Have you heard about that one, Steve?
Yeah, I have. I've never used it.
You might like it. It basically it basically disables everything completely, so you can't use it, and that's it. So it's like, all right, and then my other trick is give my phone to my girlfriend and have her. So my phone's hidden, and all the internet stuff is completely blocked. So there's nothing I can do. So of course I'm not going to waste my time, and I actually find, quite frankly, that's the only way that it works.
Actually, what works for me is, well, you have to be willing to focus and make sure you do this. But I like the Pomodoro technique, and that's that 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off, and then like for the 5 minutes off, you walk around or you do something away from the computer. But I actually have it on my phone where it's I'll show you. It's like a ticking timer, so it's right on my phone. It doesn't minimize, like, some apps will minimize after you don't look at it for a few minutes. This will actually stay in your screen. So as I'm typing, I'm constantly looking down, seeing that countdown. So it really just is a kind of visual reminder that this is important. You need to focus on writing, and there is a ticking clock in the background. So it's a little bit nutty, and for me, sometimes I find myself too obsessed with this, so you want to watch yourself, but I do find it's a good way to kind of keep you focused on what you need to do at that given moment.
Yeah. So I think the takeaway from this is that we need to make sure we don't just think we can be productive. We have to, create the structures and systems so that it becomes easier. And let's just be really humble about that, because we all have the ability to get highly.
Yeah, I definitely, I suffer for like everyone else. Like you just have to know yourself and try to have workarounds over your limitations, and that's why I tend to geek out on all these little tools.
Yeah. I mean, I find, frankly, cell phones, just having them on is bad enough for me.
Same here.
Good. So, Steve, why don't you tell us a little bit about any other habit-related things that you find very powerful?
The one thing that always works for me is I try to start my day with a number of just personal development like type of habits. So like, drink like a nice smoothie, do a couple stretches, kind of reaffirmations, that sort of thing. But the one specific productivity habit I like to do as I begin my day is I just write down the 3 most important things. And I'm sure a lot of people watching this have heard of that before, but you kind of look at your day, you look at, I kind of a list of all the different things I want to accomplish for the week. But from that massive list, I like to write down 3 important tasks that I need to accomplish. And these are the singular most important things. Actually, I won't go into the weeds there, but one of them is almost always some form of writing. So I want to write 2,000 words today, and that ties into the habit I try to do almost first thing in the morning. So there's usually some sort of content creation habit, and then from there, it really changes almost on a daily basis. It could involve being on a bunch of conversations. Like that'll be my second most important task. Like today is my kind of talking conversation day, so that was my number 2 task, and the third one for today was just figuring out the final title for my next book. So you just want to write down the things that are super important for your business. And the way to really figure out what should go on this list is, if you imagine the end of your day, what are the things you'd be most proud of accomplishing? What are the things you look back, oh, right, those were really important things, and I'm glad that I finished them. And obviously, if you finish with those 3 things, then you can move on to your larger list. But I find that it's important to have a focus of just a few small, actionable tasks to start your day with.
And, simple as that might sound, hardly anyone does it. And so what happens instead? Crisis.
Yep.
Facebook, Gmail, and whatever else,
Oh, yeah, that's I should have put a little addendum to that. One of those tasks should not be check Facebook, should not be email. Like I leave email. I do have a scheduled time at the end of the day, but I always leave email for once I do everything else. And I might come across as a little standoffish when it comes to email, but I really know that what's more important is focusing on content creation over engaging people on a back and forth conversation. That's kind of the nature of my business. But I guess for some people, if you're really in a sales type of environment, perhaps it might be something you need to look into. But you really have to be honest about what truly is important for your business or even for your personal success.
Yeah. If at all possible, get rid of email.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if we got back to the good old like fax machines or letters or something. Because if we had to actually write out every message, we probably wouldn't bother writing the message because it would be too much work. To go to the post office, if you had to write it down, get your pen out, get down in the car, post it, put the stamp on, then you have to wait, like 3 days for it to come back. We wouldn't bother. So I think treat email as if you're writing a letter, and you might spend less time on it.
Yeah, I think it was Dan Kennedy, that one of like the kind of marketing legends. I think he doesn't have email. I've read a number of his books how he only accepts fax or scheduled like conversations, and that's it. Like he refuses to do any sort of technology, and that guy is like a productivity machine. So you could definitely take a page from his playbook.
Yeah. He's a fax machine guy. So just delete your Gmail account and buy a fax machine.
That wouldn't fly for most businesses, let's be honest. But it'd be nicer to move closer towards that.
Yeah. It's probably if you can get away with it, tell us how you did it. We'd be very interested.
Yeah, I'll pay a lot of money for that.
So, all right. How do you write a book, Steve? Because you've written, loads of books. What's your method?
Yeah, it usually starts out like I usually am in the process of writing